Welcome back to Bones, Bourbon, Barley, and Brass, or a lifestyle channel where we discuss interesting things. We have a bit of a special report for you, a recap of ice hockey, men's ice hockey in particular, at the 2026 Olympics in Torino, Italy. Wow, what a tournament, and hats off to Team USA. They brought home the gold. I have my Connor Hellebuck Winnipeg Jets jersey, which is a little ironic to say the least. But hats off to Mr. Hellebuck and his performance in net. What I liked about the tournament, well, first off, the NHL was back. It was a best on best tournament. First time best on best Olympics since Sochi. Um, they did do the World Cup of Hockey last year, or excuse me, Four Nations last year. Canada won that. Obviously, every year the IIHF does the World Championships in the summer, and depending on who gets knocked out of playoff contention, various stars will go play, like Sidney Crosby, Patrick Kane, etc., Alex Ovechkin, to name a few. Although Russia's not been in IIHF competition since I think 2021. Anyways, so getting NHL players back in the games was a big first step. My understanding from certain individuals in the know on social media, it had to do with an insurance policy. I believe, let me look, let me keep my facts straight here. Kevin Fiala, who was part of the Kings, LA Kings, and part of Switzerland, fractured his leg. So that was one major casualty. I think that's going to be detrimental to the Kings, because the reality of it was the Kings were a bubble team going into the Western Conference playoffs. Anyways, so there you have it. That's one of the risks. Sidney Crosby was hurt the last two games for Team Canada. That was interesting. I think it was unfortunate. Would like to see Sid the Kid play in the gold medal game. I think it also represented an interesting changing of the guard, because this will likely be Crosby's last Olympics. An interesting changing of the guard from Sidney Crosby to Connor McDavid. And Connor McDavid took over the captaincy for Team Canada and won MVP for the entire tournament. Interestingly enough, Connor McDavid also won a Conn Smythe a couple years ago for playoff MVP without winning the Stanley Cup. So, poor guy has two tournament MVP trophies, but no championship hardware to show for it. So what I liked, NHL. The second one was the time zone. I think when you play in Asia with Pyeongchang and Beijing, it makes things really difficult. But when you play either in Europe or North America, I think the timing works out much better. In the morning you can catch games. I mean, there was games basically 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. Central, so that was great for us. I remember in Vancouver was probably the best, because first game would start at like 2 p.m. and go till like midnight. Now I was in college for that Olympics, so but nonetheless, that was awesome. As far as my favorite Olympics for best on best, even though Team USA lost, it was the 2010 Olympics and then the 2014 Olympics. And I want to see what the tournament was. Yeah. So Canada beat Sweden for gold, and because US and Canada met in the finals, and then Finland beat the United States. So Certainly interesting to say the least. Um, Also, what I liked I would say I liked the Hughes brothers, both Jack and Quinn. I think Quinn was Team USA's MVP by far. I would say Quinn Hughes, then Hellebuck, and then geez, you're asking me to think. Let me look at the score sheet here. Maybe Austin Matthews. I mean, Jack. I gotta give it Jack Hughes +9, and he had the golden goal. So, Quinn Hughes was a +4. Another thing that I liked, positive note, Macklin Celebrini had 10 points and 7+ minus at being age 19. So hats off to him for proving his worth. I will say I was a little disappointed in how much the news media gushed over his Olympic debut. I think it was a little much, but that's just me. All right, here, let's look. I want to go back to 2014. Let me see. Rosters. Sorry, I'm bouncing around here. Yeah, 2010 was by far the best Olympics, and then second best was probably 2014. This one was good. Just a lot of quirks. Seems like they got the arena right, which that was always a big concern. Another thing I like, the Kachuk brothers. I think they brought added flair to the Olympics. Just some good old smash mouth hockey. So, as far as what I didn't like about the Olympics, there was a lot. Let's start with snubs. I would say for Team USA snubs, easily Jason Robertson. JT Miller had no business playing on the team. Sorry, JT. I also think Team USA should have done to Patrick Kane what they did with Sidney Crosby. They should have brought him on the team, made him an alternate captain for leadership purposes. I mean, certainly with points and Kane passing Madonna this year, you're talking about the greatest American player, and you have an opportunity to put him on your team. Now he's past his prime, don't get me wrong, but he'd easily be a top 6 forward on the team, easily. So that was a bit of a snub. I also think Alex DeBrincat was a bit of a snub, and he was snubbed based on the fact that he's 5'8". So, a couple snubs there for Team USA. I also think Jake Ottinger got a bit of a snub. They should have played him in one of the round robin games. I appreciate the sensitivity around Connor Hellebuck. Obviously, he won us the tournament, but they should have played Ottinger in one of the 3 games. I mean, if you're going to play Swayman, play Ottinger in the other game. That's kind of my 2 cents on the issue. Let's see. Who else was snubbed? Connor Bedard from Team Canada. Connor Bedard most certainly should have been on Team Canada. And I think, as I look at it, both with Team Canada and Team USA, there's a little bit of good old boys club that went on for setting up both teams. And it candidly, as a fan, rubbed me the wrong way. I think getting Robinson on the team would have opened up a bunch of different doors. I mean, Robinson's from Southern California, and expanding the game. I know there's, 2 teams down there, and then the Sharks in San Jose. but still, I think that would have helped things. I don't think Sweden or Finland necessarily had any notable subs or snubs, excuse me. Um, Sorry, I'm just looking at Team Canada. Sam Bennett ultimately made the team. I know a lot of people bitch, pissed, and moan about him and the fact he's a dirty player. In my opinion, he should have been on the team. Let's see, what else? Hyman and Bouchard were left off the team. I think Hyman potentially could have been put on the team. Yeah, I don't know. So that was that piece of the puzzle. Another snub, let's call it for what it is. Team Russia. Now, before I dive into Team Russia, do not condone Russia's geopolitical stances over the last 4 or 5 years. But if you look at who they would have been able to put on the ice, I'm trying to see if I can find it here. Maybe this. New York Times has a paywall. Let's see. Let me see if let's see if somebody had. Sorry, we had to stop and start again. I decided to ask ChatGPT what a potential roster would look like. So it's formulating an answer right now. So your first line would have been ChatGPT saying Kaprizov, Malkin, and Kucherov. Second line would have been Panarin, Yurov, and Nishtushkin. And then line 3 would have been Ovechkin, Namstikov, Kirill Marchenko. And then line 4 would have been Ivan Barbashev, Pavel Buchnevich, Andrei Snedvikov. Butchered that. And then your defensive pairings would have been Sergeyev and Provorov, Gorakov and Zub for pair 2, and Nikita Zadorov and Dmitry Orlov for pair 3. And then your goalies would have been Vasilevsky, Shesterkin, and Sorokin. With what's his name, and Bobrovsky looking over the shoulders from Florida on all those. And then your extra subs would have been Pavel Dorofeyev, Michkov, Ivan Demidov. Yeah. And don't forget Peter Kochkakov as far as emergency goalie. Yeah, they would have. That team probably would have medaled. They probably would have competed for a bronze medal and potentially a silver had they made it in. So that's a snub right there in terms of talent. And then as far as also just biggest losers in this tournament, let me jump around again and go to the bracket. Finland has the most to lose. They were up on Canada and could have won that game. And Finland could have gotten themselves a silver medal and potentially could have gotten a gold. Now, here's the thing. The fact that if Finland had knocked off Canada, Canada would not, the gold medal game would not have gotten the ratings that it got. So that's just something to keep in mind. I think I think, and I say, it's interesting. I'm looking at the bronze medal game. Slovakia really. Oh, wait. Did they beat Finland? Oh, they got the score backwards. Yeah. So Finland beat Slovakia. They got it posted incorrectly on NHL.com. They got the score flip flopped. But yeah, Finland was a much better team than Slovakia. I think Slovakia overplayed a little bit. Let me see. Who did they play in pool? They beat Finland in pool. They had Italy, beat Italy. Can't tell. Yeah, it was those games. So they beat Finland. They beat Italy. They lost to Sweden. So in Sweden, I feel like they lost to a real team. But going back to the bracket, just for a second here. Yeah, here's the bracket. As far as teams that I think Slovakia overplayed, so they were a bit of a winner in all this, even though they didn't medal. As far as programs that lost out, Sweden, Germany, Czechia, and then I would say Denmark. The only team I'm not going to pick on is the Swiss. I think the Swiss played admirably and played right about where they're going to be fifth. They lost to Finland. Finland showed that they could compete for the gold medal. I don't think the Swiss are a gold medal team, but I think they played at their level. But Germany was supposed to be a competitor. Sweden normally fields a very good team, and I feel like they didn't. Czechia didn't really have their house in order for this Olympics. And candidly, I think Canada didn't have the goaltending it historically has. I mean, you think about some of the teams that Canada was able to pitch out 20 years ago. Marty Brodeur, Patrick Waugh, even recently, Marc-Andre Fleury. Let's see. Let's go 2010 Canada Olympic hockey team. And yeah, they had Marty Brodeur, Marc-Andre Fleury, Luongo, just a tremendous team. Wonder if I can go 2014. Yeah, I mean, even 2014, you had Luongo, you had Carey Price, and I feel like you had someone else. So, anyways, just a quick roundup on Olympic hockey. It was an interesting tournament. I'm hoping, can't wait for 2030. I'm hoping the talent increases and we'll go from there. Until next time, cheers.